And I've jotted down the important ones.
Here they come then. The carriage is the first sight. This is my favourite bit, when the pictures go up from ITV around the world really, but also here at Ascot, and the crowd get their first glimpse of Her Majesty the Queen. Stand by, everybody.
And that first glimpse of the hat, yes. Green. I did actually say it would be green today. Indeed. I wish I had put money on the Queen's hat because I've got the right every day. I'd just like to say, maybe the royal correspondent, but I have no inside knowledge on this. This piece of information is left until the moment the Queen comes through those golden gates. Mark, she's wearing...
She is wearing, it's actually a summer grass green. There we go, that's the official colour. It's a wool coat that she's got. It's also underneath, we've got a dress that's embroidered with summer flowers. Very apt for today. The hat, of course, as well, is made also, so all of the pieces made by Angela Kelly, who is hairdresser and personal assistant as well. And then it's been adorned with flowers to match the flowers that decorate her dress. So beautifully put together.
It's another really striking one that ensures she's going to be seen from the crowd, isn't it? And you laugh at me for these notes, but I can just glance down and tell you, they did a study about the colour of her outfits here at Royal Ascot over the last 15 years. The most popular choice is blue, the second most popular choice is green, and the third most popular is pink. She'd already done blue and she'd already done pink, so there you go. She's coming with the second favourite.
I love my swatty.
She wears it 21% of the time here at Royal Ascot. Thank you.
Drop like wonderful. Who else is in this first carriage, Katie?
Well, joining the Queen in that very important first carriage is the Earl of Snowdon, David Linley, the Queen's close friend, Peter Troughton, who was actually in the carriage procession earlier this week, and a very important man who she'll depend on this week, but actually every other day of the week as well, her bloodstock advisor, John Warren, who I would imagine knows absolutely everything anyone needs to know about horses, about bloodstock, and you know, he advises not just the Queen but breeders around the world. This is a man of international knowledge, hugely well connected, and yeah, someone that Her Majesty depends on very, very much. We know that she's a passionate racehorse lover and breeder, and yeah, I think their conversations will be very interesting.
Yeah, likewise, his son actually, John's son Jake. Encyclopedic knowledge, and he's most famous, I think, for that famous day in 2013 alongside Her Majesty the Queen when Esterbrook won the Gold Cup. The excitement in both their faces, cheering the horse
They couldn't have looked happier. And actually, John Warren's wife, Lady Carolyn Warren, you'll see her in a minute because she's in the third carriage, but together, you know, they run the Highclere stud, and she manages that on a day-to-day basis. So it's not just days like today, this is their life every day of the week.
That's the front carriage. What about in the second carriage this afternoon?
So in the second carriage we have Sir Nicholas Bacon, who again we saw yesterday. He got the honour of riding alongside the Queen. He's the president of the Royal Horticultural Society, and he popped up at the Chelsea Flower Show with the Queen just a few weeks ago. He's joined by his lovely wife Susan, Lady Bacon, and the Honourable Edward Tolmash and his wife Sophie. Now they are, well, Edward is the son of the Lord and Lady Tolmash, who are very old friends of the Queen. They are the Tolmashes of the brewery dynasty, and it's Edward and his very glamorous wife Sophie. Looking beautiful there.
She is very glamorous.
Very glamorous indeed.
Looking at Sophie Tolmash, her outfits are actually very, very gorgeous. I was really looking forward to seeing what she's going to be wearing today. See some floral print on there. But also Lady Bacon as well. Love that pillbox hat. It's like retro vibe there. It's wonderful to see.
Very elegant.
Yes.
Very elegant.
From 2 to 3, who's in the third carriage?
Well, in the third carriage, we've got Mr. William Wyatt and his wife, and he is, I'm sure you know her, the new chairman of Newmarket. And as I said, Lady Carolyn Warren as well, of course, John Warren's wife, and Lieutenant Colonel Charles Richards. Now, we've seen him in the procession this week. We saw him yesterday, I think it was yesterday, I'm losing track. He's the Deputy Master of the Household and responsible for a real plethora of things over at Buckingham Palace. He's been very involved with the recent royal wedding. He oversees all of the Queen's catering. So I don't know if those who are watching at home know that all of the Queen's guests, all the people that we're seeing in these carriages, have just enjoyed the most lavish banquet at Windsor Castle. They will have been treated to an exquisite 4-course meal. The silverware will have been out, the crystal will have been polished, and they will have been talking racing. And so they've just enjoyed a wonderful lunch. And you know, it is the job of the Master of the Household and his deputy to ensure that those sort of events, those private entertaining events as well, go seamlessly.
Our very own Alice Plunkett was lucky enough to be in the Royal Procession a few years ago and enjoyed that lavish lunch.
I bet she said it was pretty fabulous.
And it was. And her husband, William Fox-Pitt, was given an honour in the birthday honours list, which is very emotive because she, Alice, nursed him back to health after his fall. And if ever there was a couple that deserved it, it was a award for both of them. And I'm sure they're watching on today. Fox-Pitts. And here is Carriage 4.
Well, in Carriage 4, we've got Lieutenant Colonel James Gaisley and his wife, Judy. Now, Lieutenant Colonel James Gaisley popped up quite a bit over that recent royal wedding that I just mentioned because he is the commanding officer of the Household Cavalry. So he was in charge of that wonderful mounted escort that took the newly wedded Duke and Duchess of Sussex around Windsor. So he was just a little bit busy in May, probably taking a bit of time off now to enjoy the horses here at Ascot. And he is joined by Nicholas Henderson and his wife, Diana.
Sophie Henderson, who was married at the end of last year.
I'm so sorry.
Nicky on the left there, he's trained for the Queen as well, Katie. She's a Royal Jumpers. He's a National Hunt trainer, Nicky. He has the odd runner at Royal Ascot as well in the long flat races. Great fun, Nicky Henderson, one of the all-time great National Hunt trainers, and he and Sophie got married up in Scotland, and there was all sorts of controversy about the timing of the wedding because Nicky had runners that afternoon and was desperate to get to the television set. And I spoke to Sophie about it, and he was under strict orders to behave until a certain time when he was allowed to watch the racing. But there is Her Majesty, and the sunshine, Charlotte, makes such a difference, doesn't it, when you look at the sunshine glinting off the carriages, but particularly outfits like that with that stunning colour.
It really does. It brings out the best, doesn't it? And I just love it. On such a beautiful sunny day, you can see the crowds there, all leaning over, all peering, wanting to get a glimpse of the Queen as she comes past, and she's loving this, waving to everybody, smiling around. It is one of her favourite events of the year, the first to go into her diary, and we know that she just so appreciates the fact that everybody turns out, everybody's here to embrace the atmosphere here at Ascot.
What we should have loved yesterday, I know Her Majesty and the Queen would have loved it, the Gold Cup. Yeah. And we spoke to Frankie Dettori, he came on our podium afterwards, and imagine what he's experienced in his career. And he said, being awarded the saddle cloth with number 60 on it, 'cause he's had 60 Royal Ascot winners now, Frankie, from the Queen, was one of the best moments of his entire career. Very special.
Her Majesty looks so beautiful there. It's such an amazing colour, isn't it, that green? It just
very vibrant. All of the colours that she's worn this week, she really does ensure that she stands out. And you know, we've said it before this week, but it is very much the case that so many people are here today. Of course they're here for the racing, of course they're all here to put a bet on, but so many are here to see the Queen. And actually, as we stand here, you will hear them shortly cheering. People will call down Your Majesty, and she acknowledges people here. She'll give a wave, she'll give a smile, and she's clearly very, very happy to be here. She sees this as a holiday, and she said that herself.
She'll look forward to the Commonwealth Cup today. One of two Group 1 big races this afternoon, and Commonwealth very much to the fore, Charlotte.
It is indeed, so we're representing it today. We know that all of the High Commissioners were invited from all 53 countries of the Commonwealth. There are about between 12 to 15 of the heads of Commonwealth here today. They've been enjoying a lunch, they'll be here to soak up the atmosphere today. And I've got some Commonwealth facts if you want them, Ed, actually. You know, I don't
just
waste
before the
my
national anthem, that'd be nice.
Have we got time? It's the Pacific nation of Nauru. It's the smallest Commonwealth member, population of about 10,000. Unfortunately, though, it scores the lowest in Scrabble out of the Commonwealth countries, with a mere 5.
Ollie Bell will be very upset. He's trying to produce the best stats this
Taking
week.
the mantle.
Royal into Royal Ascot. On a day we talk about the Commonwealth, but we also talk about the armed forces. We celebrate the armed forces today here at Ascot, and you've been out and about already, you two. It's a wonderful thing that they've given up a day's holiday here to raise money.
Yeah, so they volunteer, they come here. We spoke to some of them earlier actually, and they're thrilled to have the opportunity to be here. They're able to come here, they raise money for their armed forces charities as well, and to them it means a huge amount to be here, to be a part of this special day.
Absolutely, it's a wonderful day out for them, and also it's so lovely to see them all in the regalia right here. It really does just add an extra certain something to Royal Ascot.
And I think it will mean an awful lot to the Queen, because of course the Queen is the head of the armed forces. She has a long history with the armed forces. Her family have a very long history with the armed forces. In fact, people keep asking me when I'm here, we haven't seen the Duke of Cambridge. Well, yesterday he was opening up a rehabilitation centre for the armed forces. So that connection with the military is very much, I would say, at the heart of the royal family. So it will mean a lot to the Queen that there are this many armed forces here today at Ascot.
And it is Armed Forces Day next Saturday, the 30th of June. We know that the celebrations will be starting on Monday. Flags will be raised on buildings and famous landmarks around the country. There are parades, there are street parties, there are marches, services and garden parties, talks from veterans. So it's a really nice time actually to remember past and present veterans.
And the three charities they're collecting for today, Royal Navy and Royal Marines Charity, the Soldiers Charity, and also the Royal Air Force Benevolent Fund. Hopefully they will raise lots of money as the Royal Procession makes its way into the paddock.
Dig deep, everybody.
Katie, you see some big crowds in this paddock. Frankel being a famous one when it was crowded. Yesterday for the Gold Cup, to greet Frankie was crowded, but nothing like this. I mean, just look at the number of people and the proximity they get.
Yeah, and you were talking about this Friday feeling, and as I was making my way through the parade and saying, people have waited here for hours to get a prize seat, because really, when you are here, and you will see on the wonderful cameras that you've got, they are so very close. It's very rare that you actually get to be this close to the Queen. Make no mistake, security is paramount here. It always is, but it's one of the highlights of coming to Ascot, is just how close you get to do it. And you see everyone's taking selfies.
I find it fascinating. Everyone has got their phones
Everyone.
out. They are all recording this moment of being so close to the Queen. And for her, coming every year since 1945, the changes she must have seen over the years. And look at everyone now with their phones out, wanting to get that picture.
For many, this is the absolute highlight of the week.
It's always my highlight of the day, I have to say. It's
I
so
wouldn't have a winner.
incredible. It's so incredible how close
A winner would
we
be
are.
great. I think she's had 23 Ascot winners. Another one would be wonderful.
She's got a runner this afternoon.
Well, good luck, Your Majesty.
Has a chance. She comes right past us as we touch her hats. What a colour that is. Amazing.
Beautiful green, isn't it? She was wearing Queen in Cheshire the other day as well.
She was,
with,
I
the
remember
Duchess of
that.
Sussex.
There was no missing the Queen in that fibre green. She also went on her 90th birthday celebrations. She's 92. There are not many 92-year-olds that can carry that colour off, and she does it amazingly well.
Does it very well indeed.
I'm just going to try and catch Nicky Henderson's eye as he comes past. I'm sure he's enjoyed that. What a thrill that must be to be in the carriage. Great trainer himself, who's an absolute master at Cheltenham. One of the other highlights of the racing year in March from the Cheltenham Festival, where Nicky Henderson is Mr. Cheltenham at times. Winners again, just missed out on the thrilling Gold Cup this year, where Native River beat his Might Bite, who had won the King George on the Boxing Day at Kempton. And now what happens, and we never show it, is the Queen will dismount from the carriage. There she is, and she's met by Her Majesty's representative again, Johnny Weatherby, if you've been watching this week. Johnny, part of the family business, Weatherby's, 7th generation of the family involved in that, loves his racing. He's also a Leicester City fan. He was celebrating a few years ago, I remember. And now they have a reception line, and in that reception line today, you have Lord Rathcretan, who's the chairman of the Stewards Committee. Alistair Warwick is in there at the moment. She's talking to Sir Francis Brooke, who's a trustee. He's been a trustee here since 2011. We talked about the Princess Countryside Trust yesterday, the money they've raised, and then the newest trustee, Harry Morley's next to him, and then, as I say, Lord Rathcretan, the chairman of the Stewards Committee, Alistair Warwick, who's the chief operating officer, and also Guy Davison is there, who's a non-executive director here at Ascot. And I spoke yesterday about the trustees' involvement. Very hands-on they are with everything that goes on and the planning. It is meticulous. You've been around the racecourse, you two. Everything around here, they say nothing like it.
It's perfection. Utter perfection. It really is.
Everything is
Nothing out of
organised
place.
with military detail here. It is really something to behold, isn't it?
Yes, it really is.
And if you're coming tomorrow, go and have a look at the new gardens up the top of the racecourse by the Royal Household Gardens I was telling you about earlier. Brand new they are up there, and they're growing and getting bigger. Something's always changing.
There is also, that's the thing, Commonwealth Fashion
tonight.
Exchange is absolutely incredible. So that's here. Do take a look at that. It's an exhibition here at Royal Ascot in the Queen Anne enclosure. It's all about values in there. Some amazing fashion pieces, but modern day Commonwealth, women empowerment as well, and ethical production also. Some beautiful pieces like Burberry, Stella McCartney, from 31 pieces from 53 different countries in there. So,
well, the Commonwealth has very much been the theme, hasn't it, of this year's programme. In fact, in the official programme, the Queen writes, this year Royal Ascot will highlight the strength and vitality of the Commonwealth. Of course, we'll have the Commonwealth Cup today. We've got this fashion show. We saw the Queen at Chogham this year. It's very much on the agenda.
Charlotte Hawkins tipped the winner of the Gold Cup yesterday, as did Ryan Giggs, who I spoke to in Russia on the show yesterday.
It's quite
I hope
something.
your family all back to Stradivarius.
Everyone's going to be listening to my tips now, aren't they?
You got one for us today?
Well, we were talking about this because, in honour of the armed forces, and we've been speaking to them earlier, so I was going to go with the Invincible Army, just to mark that out, but I have no idea actually whether that's going to do any
Matt Chapman agrees with you.
Do you know what? I wouldn't put any money on it necessarily on my say-so, but you never know. I like to do the one that has that personal meaning.
I think you did very well yesterday.
Big Orange as well last year. I mean, I'm just saying.
You'll have your followers, I can guarantee you. Team, thanks so much. Katie Nicholl, we'll see you for the final Royal Procession tomorrow.
Looking forward to that one. Thank
you two need to head out and about. Stay off the champagne for as long as you can, please.
You know what I said.
Give you half an hour.
Thank you for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, then please give it a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you know whenever I upload a new video. So from me in Shropshire, goodbye.